We are back after a 7-week hiatus. Chieftain roll call as our technology issues bludgeoned us into submission. We have taken the last 2 months off. We are back with shoddy technology. I'm holding a microphone. Coach Miffs is wearing a microphone, and Austin Hammond and Jack Varner are sharing a microphone. So we're going to give this our best shot. We got a lot to talk about. The last time we got together, we were reeling from, speaking of bludgeoning, we were bludgeoned by the London Red Raiders in week 6. Yeah. Week 6 of the season. I think we did a show afterwards, didn't we?
Yeah.
We talked about how bad we were and how much we hated ourselves and how we were going to get better.
Yeah.
And now we're into week 15. Unfortunately, we're not playing, but there was a lot that happened between week 6 and now. And we found a way to rally, and we got our season on track. And over the course of that following 6-7 weeks, we put together one of the better runs in certainly recent memory, if not ever, in Ball Fountain football, and got into the playoffs and won 3 football games and made it to a regional final. So we can dig into that. I'm going to start with Jack because he's holding the mic.
Yeah.
So Jack, after London, tell us, now that you can tell the truth because it's all over, your thoughts on the following days after London. Did you feel like we had a chance to turn it around, or did you think we were heading down a dark path?
I always knew we had a chance to turn it around because my whole thing was, there was a lot of, noise going around, this and that. But at the end of the day, London, when we played them the first time, I believe we ranked 5th in the state. I mean, it wasn't like we lost to, a bunch of bums. So we looked at the rest of the schedule and we said, hey, we can win out and we can, at least win a couple playoff games. And so that was the goal for me, right away, was rallying the troops and saying, hey, we lost to a really good football team. A few things go our way, maybe that game's closer, whatever. What happened. Now we got to put our head down and try to make the most of it. Because for me, I was a senior, so there was no, we'll get them next year. This is a rebuilding year or whatever.
I think the biggest thing that happened that night that scared everyone, probably myself included, is how much they out-physicaled us. They, not only did they beat us, they just manhandled us on both sides of the ball. What changed? From the next week we played Tecumseh, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. So that's probably what the doctor ordered, honestly, on our schedule. That's one of the teams that you might pick to follow up a tough loss against. But as we move through Tecumseh to Urbana to Alder to KR and into the playoffs, how do you think we got more physical?
Honestly, just confidence. I think a big turning point in the season was that Jonathan Alder game for us. It was a game we needed to show we could win a dogfight, and Jonathan Alder they were a very good football team. I mean, they lost by 6 points in the playoffs when they didn't have their best player. So
Bishop Reedy, I believe.
Yeah, and so that's not a bad loss for them. And especially up front, the Jonathan Alder and Urbana game, we started to dominate that game in the trenches a little bit. And we were inexperienced offensive line. Me and Parker were the only guys playing varsity football before this year. So to have games like that where you build confidence and then you trust each other, and then we made some adjustments with our slide protection and stuff, and we trusted that, and our confidence just grew more and more going into the playoffs.
We recommitted to the run game. Following London, we made a conscious decision as a staff that that was one of the things that we had to do a better job of, is we had to be balanced. That Chris, in particular, had to be a much more equal partner in the offense. That him getting limited carries wasn't going to be the recipe to win those kind of games. And I don't know what the numbers are, but I would assume his rushing yards, I think he ends up with how many on the season?
Over
1,200?
Yeah.
So, what percentage of those are after week 6, I would guess? Well over half,
Yeah.
three-quarter.
Coldwater in week 2 and week 6, he had about 15 yards combined.
So, clear until the Watterson game, he was putting up really big numbers. Do you feel like getting him carries and dedicating ourselves in the run game and trying to be more balanced was beneficial in our confidence to play physically?
Absolutely. like I said, that Urbana and JA game, I felt like our coaching staff did a good job of trusting our offensive line and, you know, Chris and everybody to, you know, we were leaning on those teams towards the end of the game and, you know, thumping them. And you could, there's no way you make a team quit more than just running the ball and they can't stop it. You know, we've had that happen to us before, you know, London in the past years.
London 1.0.
Yeah, it's discouraging. Like, they're running the ball and they're not, you know, pretending to do anything else. And if you can't stop it, it makes you want to quit. And that's what we did sometimes down the stretch.
So, Austin, let's continue to stay back, like, when we're struggling. After the London game the first time, as a fan, did you feel like we were heading down a dark path, or did you feel like we were going to be able to, you know, turn it around and then finish the season the way we did?
Yeah, not gonna lie. I mean, it was a little discouraging. I mean, the game was very hyped up. A lot of people were expecting a really close game, and to lose by that amount, I mean, as Jack said, they were a great team. So it's not like we lost to a no-one. So
the game could have been worse.
it could have absolutely.
they really let their foot off the gas.
Definitely. But yeah, I mean, it was a little discouraging after that loss. But if there's anything we've learned about Chieftain football in the past, I mean, we're always able to recover. I think we did a great job of recovering. I mean, as he said, that Tecumseh game after, it was a great game to find our footing, and then Urbana, Alder, those were great wins. And then I think it just gave us a good foundation going into the playoffs.
You know, I was nervous. You know, I felt confident in what we were doing, but going in to Tecumseh, I wasn't nervous. Not that you're always nervous because you want to play well, but I didn't feel like there was any scenario Tecumseh could beat us. But Urbana was a nerve-wracking game. I didn't think they could beat us, but I also knew they were dangerous, and it's a rivalry game, and I wasn't sure. And we go out and totally thump them, right? 40-some to 14. 44-14. Coach Mifsud, so your thoughts as a receiver guy, you know, we already talked about we started running the ball a lot better. What changes did that then bring about in the passing game, specifically the receiver world?
Well, I think one of the things, you know, recommitting, you know, and staying committed to the run game makes them not be able to take away one thing. You know, if we're going to just become this air raid team, then they're going to give us the run, vice versa. If we're running the ball heavy, you know, they're going to take that away. So when we became more balanced, you know, they had to pick their poison. Do they want to try to take away Tavian and the receivers, or do they want to try to take away, you know, the run game? And when we're balanced, they can't really take away either, is what we learned.
What would you do?
I would play balanced. When you got, you know, Chris and Harper and the way the offensive line was playing, and then, you know, Tavian throwing the ball to, you know, Riley and CJ and Tevis and Folk, it's a bad combo to, if you're a defensive coordinator, prepping for us on the Saturday before. So I think committing to the run game, we were very unpredictable at times, which opened up lanes and alleys for Tavian to, you know, get to work in the pass game and, you know, hit our guys and make big plays.
The thing that stands out to me a lot looking back is the Alder game. You know, certainly a team that we knew was dangerous, definitely could beat us kind of team. Jewel, you know, can almost single-handedly take over a game like he did against London. And we come out and we have a game plan. You know, one of the things we really want to see is how they will adjust to numbers. So, like if we put our what we call Joker, which is 3 guys in a bunch, generally to the field, how much will they commit out there? Will they give us 2.5 hats? Will they give us 3 hats, 3.5 hats? And Alder gave us like 4 hats. And so that's telling you, hey, you know, you probably don't want to throw out here because they've got guys to make plays, and we're going to give you the run box. And so we got on that. So we're running that Joker look to the field, and we're running just quick trap stuff to Chris. And we gashed them. And that's when I think Harper scores on one of those too as well. Is that right? Didn't he score a big one there?
He scores, I think, the first 2 touchdowns quick.
They are playing a 5-man box. And, you know, my eyes get really wide. Like, all right, okay, well, we're going to keep doing this then if they're going to give us a 5-man box. Are we being evacuated? Oh, that's all right. Austin, hey, we're in school day. This happens. This is the nature of live television. We're being broadcasted live all across the country. And I took it as disrespect. My buddy, our film guy, Andy, he did ask me after the game. He said, I heard you, and I didn't think anything of it. He said, he heard me when I came on the field, said something about disrespect. I was hollering something. Sometimes you say things that are almost make you sound illiterate during games. But they were only giving us a 5-man box, and we just kept running. Like, all right, you're going to adjust, right? Like, you can't just let us keep doing this. And they did keep it. They clear until the second half, and then by then it was almost too late. And then we just started adding the H back. We motioned Hayden back into the box, and we just ran Trey instead of Trap. But I thought that was kind of a moment where we got to see people in consternation of making the decision of the run game and the pass game. And, the best teams do a good job of, like you said, trying to be balanced where, maybe, especially if you have those really good alley players, the Harper Scott type guys, where you can kind of cheat them one way or the other, and they can make plays in the pass game and they can get back into the box when they need to. So we beat Urbana, we beat Alder. That was the big one, because if we lose any of those games, the thing is we're going to fall. So we end up the 7 seed. Yeah. We're going to fall at least to 10, I would guess. I think I used to know this. We're going to be on the road. Who knows who we're playing? We could be playing like a Tri-Valley type who is really good. I mean, it appears, at least watching them on film when we scouted, John Glenn, I think we saw him.
And more importantly, I feel like the momentum that we were building is out the window.
Oh, no doubt. The confidence.
Yeah.
So, Jack, back to you. So we earned this home game against John Glenn. How important is it to a player to host a playoff game?
For me, it was something I wanted to do like all through high school. It's always been a goal of ours. We've been like kind of on the unfortunate side of it a little bit. Like last year, we were 8-2 and we were the 10 seed. Like I don't know how often that happens. So, for me personally, I've been around Alphonse football for a long time. I was on the sideline against Granville in 2017, Waterboy days. So, and it was just one of the most fun nights of my life. Honestly, it was just so cool for me. Like I looked up to these players, so I've always wanted to replicate that with me in high school. And so it was definitely something we checked off the bucket list, and we all worked hard for, and we talked about it all off season.
And John Glenn, that was a matchup that was pretty tailor-made for us. I sometimes use the term, there's certain teams that we're built to beat up on, and maybe I can say this because I'm not coaching anymore. KR and Tecumseh have always been those two teams for me. Just the way they're constructed, they're not going to be very likely to beat us. John Glenn was constructed like they were really big, physical, but slow. And they did a really good job in the box. Honestly, I came away from that playoff game really frustrated because we did not control the box in the run game. They were big, and we didn't move people, and we had to throw it more.
67, that big old.
Yeah.
He was a sophomore.
Oh, yeah. Your dad has told me that. I feel like Chris didn't have a ton of rushing yards against John Glenn, did he? I feel like we hit him with huge plays, but I mean, obviously we jumped on him big. But it was just, obviously that's not that important. We played really good defense. Austin, one of the things that stood out to me, the crowd. Your thoughts, starting with John Glenn, and obviously it moved forward in the next 3 road games. What were your thoughts of the crowd?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we stepped up when we needed to. I mean, going back to that London game, I think it opened a lot of people's eyes, but I think when we beat Urbana, beat Alder, I think it brought more hype to the crowd, more hype to the playoffs. But, yeah, I thought from John Glenn on, I think we did really well. I mean, we always travel well as a crowd. I mean, I think we filled up the away stands at London the second time before 6:30. So, I mean, but I think, yeah, we were excited to see where it could go. I think everyone thought we could make a big run, so it was just waiting to see how far we did make it. But, yeah, I was hyped at least.
Jack, what did you think the impact of the crowd was, especially as we worked through the playoffs?
I mean, I thought it was honestly a huge deal to see that many people supporting you. It was so loud and energetic, and even beyond the crowd, like leading up to the game, how supportive everybody was in the community, like especially playoff wise. And then the London game, if you're a fan, you could have sat at home and said, well, they got beat by 30 last time. It's kind of chilly. Let's stay at home tonight. But they didn't do that. They all showed out, and we had a fantastic crowd with lots of energy.
Talk about a venue to have a playoff game at.
Yeah.
I mean, any listeners on here, if you've never been to London for a playoff game, you need to get there. The lights, the sound system, it's electric.
I don't know that I've ever really thought that much about the crowd in my coaching life. Obviously, I notice if it's a good crowd or bad crowd, but those playoff games, the crowd became part of the game in a way that I don't remember. Like you could feel the energy, the amount of people, number one, and then just the noise and the intensity of the crowd. It felt different. You're speaking to London, especially. London, give them credit. I did not like playing there up until this, but that intro music was, I said on the headset, remember I said, they're not playing this for us, but it feels like it. And then the lights, that was awesome. And then, I didn't realize at the time they were doing their light show when we scored, and we found out that because it was a playoff game, I guess they were instructed that, hey, if you're going to do that, you got to do it for both sides. So that was awesome. Like Harper's touchdown, when they play those lights and that music, I mean, holy cow, it was surreal. And, certainly of all the wins I've been around, I'm not sure there's ever been one bigger than the London win in the playoffs because it was just a long time now. It was getting long time nemesis, and it was starting to feel like Tip City of we just can't beat them. And, not only can we not beat them, and it felt a little bit like what Ohio State's dealing with Michigan right now. Like we don't have the answers, and whether it's coaches, whether it's players, it's both. And to slay that dragon was that was really, really exciting. And then to go back there the next week.
Yeah.
So we beat them, and we find out we're going to London to play Granville, which of course Granville doesn't love that. At that point, it's like, all right, yeah, we're comfortable here. We know how this works. We know how to get in and out. And the only adversity we had to deal with was London's players standing in the end zone, rabidly rooting against us. I didn't notice that live, but I don't know if you watched some of those clips. Maybe we've talked about it. If you watch some of the Horvath stuff, when we make plays in the end zone, have you not seen it, Austin? Oh, Barstool's missed this. There are clips of us in the end zone, and you see the London players calling incomplete, like very emotional. They are rooting against the Chiefs. Now, their coaching staff was definitely very gracious to us and rooting for us. Kids are kids. I get it.
Well, I'm not sure what happened to if you can't beat them, join them. So it kind of hurt us in that sense. But
well, maybe some of the Barstool stuff might make it a little tougher.
maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes with kids and social media, coaches are able to kind of move on and know it's part of it, maybe a little better. But so because we are somewhat limited on time. So we beat London. We move on to Granville, and that's a whole nother thing. So the whole revenge thing kind of started to become a slogan, and we faced the team that breaks our heart the year before on a controversial call in the end zone, which we should have never been in that spot. I've probably always been a lot less negative about that call than everybody else because I'm just so disappointed to this day that we were in that spot. And I told the lineman, I had not watched the video. I had not watched the film of Granville until we played them because I just didn't want to watch it after the game, and there wasn't a whole lot of benefit to watching it for this year because we weren't going to play them. And when we watched it, to scout them, we realized how poorly we played. I mean, we played awful up front, and so should have never been in that spot to let Caden Ream's last play decide the game, but. It does make for good theater that we returned somewhat to the scene of the crime. What were your thoughts, Coach Mifsud, as when you found out, okay, it's Granville?
I thought it kind of fit how the season was, the direction it was heading. Coming off week 12, where we just got, like you said, revenge or redemption on London after week 6. Rebound like that in week 12, it kind of felt like we were righting all the wrongs, fixing our mistakes, going to play Granville, and then you find out it's in London again, and I think our whole staff and community loved going to London for week 12, and it kind of just felt like all the pieces were falling in the right place, the location and the team we were playing, and the momentum we had was coming together
Jack, did you want to play Granville?
Absolutely, yeah. No doubt. I thought about it all off season. I mean, we all thought about it. We wanted another shot at them because last year, the year before, I mean, we were just so clear cut better than they were. I mean, we just were, and we didn't play good and all that. But to get a chance to play them again was a dream come true.
And you guys often get bad blood, and I'm not always aware of it. Is there bad blood with Granville?
Honestly, like, not player wise, like bar stools or whatever. Maybe.
Fans, there's bad blood.
Yeah, well, there is a little bad blood. Yeah.
Ooh.
Hold on.
Can we now? Then keeping this appropriate, where did it all go wrong between is it the Blue Aces?
Blue Aces.
Where did it go wrong?
I just to lose on a call like that at their stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, you just develop a type of hatred after.
Now, don't you think the call was tough?
First off, the guy should have never been in that position. The ref was 6 or 8 yards up the field.
Okay.
He didn't have a good view of it.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think they can really converse there between themselves and see if it was in or out. I think if they take that to, even if they had instant review, I don't know if they call it a catch because it comes to that thing. What do they call it on the field?
Right.
And is there enough to overturn? Because if they call it a catch on the field, there's no way they can overturn.
I mean, we watched Michigan and Ohio State, an obvious drop/interception be called a touchdown. So yeah, I mean, I've said for years officials are bad, and if you leave it in their hands, we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. Well,
No offense to any officials, but it's just they don't pay very well. So.
Well, I definitely agree with you. I mean, it should have never got to that point where we had to rely on the last-second touchdown. But I mean, it's just a tough way to lose. And I mean, yeah.
So the good news is we won this year.
Yes.
And won. What was the final? 2 touchdowns.
125.
We let it get closer at the end, right? We were
Yeah,
kind of in
we
control.
were up
and then
14.
Yeah, we had a chance to. We fumbled in the end zone. Yeah.
We didn't play very well against Granville.
No, we didn't play that
All
great. Yeah, and I think I remember saying, and so then, speaking of, it's a little bit. Now you have to kind of do some gymnastics to call it redemption versus Watterson, but I have been on the sidelines to a Watterson playoff loss, so it's been a long time ago, 2009.
30. What was the score?
28-0, something like that. We didn't score. So we draw Watterson, which, we pretty much immediately know this is the best team we've played all year. I think, that's beyond a doubt now at this point. They have advanced to the finals against Toledo Central. And, it just did not go well. Really in every which way. All the things that had gone well for us stopped going well for us. There's probably a lot of reasons. I certainly will start with myself that it'll always be a difficult pill for me to swallow because, the reality is we didn't have any answers in the run game, and I didn't personally have any answers, and that's my job. So there's really nowhere else to look. I knew their team speed in the box scared me. Their D linemen, I told you guys on the Saturday hey, these are penetrators. These aren't stuffers. These are what was the term I used? Agents of chaos, I believe is what I call them. They are just there to penetrate. They're putting their head down and they're driving upfield and letting number 6 and 24, I think, and the other linebackers run around and make plays. And they closed on the ball. They rallied to the football better than any team we'd played all year. I think one of the plays that really made me go, ugh, was we throw a quick pass to Riley. And those are the kind of plays that have just been so good to us all year. And they rallied to him. And they tackled him pretty quickly. And it's like a 2-yard gain.
He makes it first.
Yeah.
First drive of the game.
Well, no, the first drive of the game, we throw the quick pass to CJ. And then we end up turning the ball over. But that was a decent gain. I think it's like the second or third drive. We throw it to our sidelines. And it's just an easy money type play.
And he makes the first guy miss.
And there's
has done
another
all
guy
year,
right
but
there.
There's 2 more guys right there, which we hadn't seen all year.
Yeah. Jack, did you think on the D-line specifically, linebackers maybe even, that their team speed was a big factor?
Well, I've told my guys, and what I've said, when people ask me about it, is I feel like they're really well coached, and I don't think their defensive line is world beaters. I think they're just kind of average, maybe above average players, but they're so well coached that they know their linebackers are their best players, and like you said, they're twisting every play. They're not. I don't think one time all game they came right at us, and they're twisting, and that just messed up our run fits at times. Or even when it didn't mess up our run fits, it just made it awkward. Nothing was ever just clean, and that's what their plan is. And there's not really a great way. I mean, I don't know the great way to counter that plan. I guess.
Well, and that's why I'm, and the answer lies with me that I did not have a great answer, and I knew, we knew on film that they twisted a lot, and we worked on it, we talked about it, and it did not hurt us in the past.
No, it did not.
Because honestly, it's the long way home. It's not that effective in pass rush. But in the run game, you're exactly right. They messed up our fits. So when we're working that front side double in the tackle to backer, the front side tackle's working outside. So then if you're the inside guy, the drive blocker, you get pulled outside. And then the running back loses confidence because it doesn't fit the way he thought it was going to. And, probably one of the answers is had we got rid of zone stuff, inside zone stuff by design over the summer because we felt like with a young offensive line, we needed to just simplify, and that was really good to us. I don't want to do revisionist history and say, "Oh, we should have run zone running in week 14." That would have been an answer. I think had we been able to just run straight at them, that would be better than gap scheme because the problem with gap scheme and their twisting is the gaps are changing. So. I have some regrets. We only ran the ball 12 times, which I left the field and said we ran the ball too much. I think it's the first thing I said to Coach Kennedy and to Coach Smith. Said, I wish we wouldn't have ran the ball so much. And then my buddy Brian Lorette said, you only ran the ball 12 times. I said, what? And he said, yeah, well, we only had 30 plays? Yeah. 30-ish?
Yeah, I think Tavian had 17 attempts. So
that's it? That sounds too low.
22.
Yeah.
Okay,
22.
But still, so that's 30-some plays. Not even 40. So that's part of the problem. Obviously, we were never able to get anything going, so we couldn't get into the offense. I still think that, one of the answers I guess I've had is if we could go back in a time machine, we would probably run a little more quick game, which the funny thing is I heard people were complaining we ran too much quick game. I've told Coach Kennedy that those throws to Riley, even though the few weren't very successful, I think the chances of him breaking one of those or Chris maybe on that flash motion stuff where he's fast out of the backfield, I think we probably should have replaced a couple of those gap scheme runs with that and just given our best players a chance to make some plays. That's the nature of sports, though, is that when you lose and it doesn't go well, you never get another chance. And to watch Watterson go on and beat Salina, when I heard that Salina had won, there was a part of me that wanted Baden to win by a bunch if we lost, because I'm like, well, these Catholic schools, because there is a little bit element of that, they got some really good players. And Salina is a hometown team like us. They're just a bunch of dudes from Salina. And when I saw that it was them, I was like, oh, I know we can beat Salina. We watched Salina scrimmage Coldwater. And, it was an opportunity we'll never, no, I shouldn't say never, maybe me personally, certainly you, because you're a senior. Do you ever get it back? And you got a chance to be playing, I don't know, here in about 24 hours?
24 hours.
Watterson
25.
and Toledo are going to play in the state finals in a pouring rain, possibly, right? Not that I wouldn't take the pouring rain, but that would be that would suck. To make it to the state finals, first time ever, and how big a thrill, and then say, oh, the rain is pouring. That's just a little bit of a buzzkill.
But I will say one thing. They were the best defensive team. I think I've started 3 years, and I think they're the best defensive team I've ever played. And I don't think it's close. Their linebackers. That's part of the problem is with our scheme and stuff, like running the ball. Sometimes Chris, even when we weren't great, Chris would make us look great. The problem was their linebackers were just too good for that. And they weren't missing any tackles.
So number 6 is the finalist for Mr. Football.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that because it's hard for me to put him above Tavian. Tavian did not become a finalist for Mr. Football, so I'm not sure how Dominic Purcell is or Ryan Montgomery. But obviously, number 6 is a really, really, really good player.
Yeah.
He's going to Navy.
Yeah.
So,
And we only lost by 6 points in the regional championship.
A chance to win. Oh, my gosh. As bad
defense
as we
played really well.
Oh, defense played lights out. Yeah. We haven't really talked about that. Defense played lights out, forced turnovers.
The pick six.
Man. Yeah, the pick six. Holy cow. Yeah, we have a chance to win the game, and even with everything going against us, and it's frustrating, but it doesn't change all the positive stuff that we talked about leading up. It doesn't change any of that. To reiterate, I've never seen anything like it as far as community support, enthusiasm for our team, with the players, the coaches, the parents, the fans, the student body, staff. It was something that you'll never forget, and it's why you do. That's what I said a couple times there in pregame. It's why you do what you do for so long. There's football is so much work. So many days, and it'll be starting back up here soon. There's a 30-day off.
January 3rd, I think.
There you go.
January 4th.
What's that, a Wednesday?
I'm sorry. January 8th is the first day. It's a Monday.
January
Lifting.
8th is a Monday. I'm not going to be in the weight room. Jack might be in the weight room, but maybe not with them. There'll be we'll start this journey all over again, and that's the beauty of football, is that it's as quick as it's over. You're moving on to the next thing and the next rendition of this team. This team has made its mark, though. They'll talk about this team in 50 years. Unless we go off and win a bunch of state titles between now and then, which I hope we do, but history would say we probably won't. And this team will probably have a pretty permanent spot among the best teams of all time. People ask that question at times, and I kind of fancy myself a historian of the Chiefs. I spent this morning actually doing some research. Found out that 1939, Mr. Comstock posted it for me. 1939, Bell Fountain High School played in the state semifinals, quarterfinals in basketball against Paul Brown. Speaking of good football, you guys know Paul Brown?
Yeah.
Paul Brown is the original coach of the Cleveland Browns, or one of them, and the founder, I believe, and original coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, Ohio State national championship coach. The Chiefs played against Paul Brown in basketball. So neither here nor there, but historically, I would say the best teams in our school's history, 1969, 68, 69, Gail Clark, Jesse Williams team, 9-1, only lost to Sydney. The 9-1 era of the 80s, which is Dow McDonald, Coach Stolley, Coach Bethel. They go 9-1 3 straight years back when it was really hard to get in the playoffs. The one year, I think 84, they lose to Cincinnati Cape. You ever heard of Cincinnati Cape, Austin? Jack? Cincinnati Cape is no longer a school. It's the Cincinnati Academy of Physical Education. It was a school that athletes went to focus on phys ed, and they rolled into the Dodd and brought one Carlos Snow, who is a historical Buckeye running back, was a pretty good player, and Vinnie Clark, who I think both guys played in the NFL, and they came up here and dealt the Chiefs our only loss in 1984. So that team is certainly up there. And then the 99 team, the 97 team goes undefeated, makes the regional final, and the 99 team goes 9-1 and wins 2 playoff games and also makes the regional final. We made the regional final. We did win an extra game. Part of that's the design of the playoffs have expanded, so we get an opportunity to play extra football than what they did. Austin, as we wrap up and we look back on the season, your final thoughts of how will you remember this whole journey? Oh, we're up against the bell.
Really good. Incredible, you could say. I think it's a great way to go out. You never like to go out with a loss, but it's kind of hard not to go out with a loss.
All but one, generally, at least in the playoffs.
Definitely. But yeah, I think it's just a good way to end. I think the playoff run was surreal. I think it kept getting better and better. You said getting a chance to beat London, beat Granville. I don't think it could have played out any better. I think it's a great experience to add to my high school years, to say the least.
Jack, final thoughts?
It was a heck of a ride. I was proud to be a part of it. I looked forward to it since I was little, and it was nice to check that London off the bucket list. They were a real pain in the butt for all those years, and it was a fun ride. I'm blessed to be a part of such a great team.
Coach Mifsud?
Kind of like both of these guys said, just glad to be a part of it. We'll remember it forever. Sad that it's over, but time to get going on the next season, like you said. Lifting gets going. I know you won't be a part of it.
In spirit.
In spirit, you'll be there. So it was cool, to be a part of that with you and Coach Brown on your last years. We'll be able to remember that.
I'll be on coaching flag football next year. You'll see me on the sidelines installing gap scheme runs. We'll run counter tray to the boundary as much much as humanly possible in a 7-on-7 concept.
Probably outside
See,
zone to the boundary.
Probably outside zone to the boundary, and people will be ticked off about that until it works. I hopefully will see how this progresses, but hopefully I'm in the booth next year. Don Hensley has announced his retirement from the booth, so hopefully it sounds like I might be able to slide in there, and I can be the I want to say Kirk Herbstreit, but he's too good looking. Who's like a shorter, fatter Kirk Herbstreit in the booth? When I was a kid, there was a bunch of those like John Madden. I know he's tall, but maybe like John Madden.
Where's John Madden?
Yeah, like a short John Madden. I go with that.